authenticity today.
Such a cool word.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
You ready for it?
I think so. And the thing is, we're wanting to know if y'all are ready for it. So
Yes.
here's the thing that we want to talk to you guys about. Being authentic is not always as easy as it sounds.
Ooh.
I meet people all the time that are like, yeah, I'm very authentic. And I'm like, no, ma'am.
Yeah.
No, ma'am. So CEOs,
Yeah.
this whole notion of being authentic really plays
It
pretty
does.
good in our mental, it's our health, it's so many
Yeah.
things, it's our relationships.
It's our relationships. So I'm going to read just what the definition is, right? And it basically is the adjective that describes something that is real is in all caps, or genuine, not counterfeit.
Wow.
Okay.
So not counterfeit.
So here's the deal. It took me a minute to figure out who I really was. Like my authentic self, right? Because I thought in my 20s, I knew who I was.
Yeah.
I knew what I liked. I knew all those things. But the reality is life happens.
And I like what Tamara said is it took me a while to figure out who I was, my authentic self.
Yeah.
Now the journey is not figuring out who you really are and what you really like. The journey is now being able to portray it and to show the
Come
world
on,
who you are.
sis. Come on,
Because
sis.
it's one thing to say, I'm this type of person, I know I like these types of things.
Exactly.
But the true authenticity shows up when you can then display that to the world, right?
And display it regardless of the circumstance and
Right.
feel comfortable about it. Because here it is. I hear people talk about, like, what's the risk of actually being your authentic self?
That's a good question.
And I think the risk is we have shown up differently in so many different situations. People may not recognize who this authentic person is.
And then maybe you won't even recognize yourself. And
Okay.
I will go a step further and say it's even more painful
Yeah.
you not knowing who you are
Goodness.
versus someone else.
Yeah.
And so, Tamara, to your point, what do we risk? We risk losing ourselves.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, but sometimes this whole CEO, women that are emerging leaders, emerging in business, like
Yeah.
really growing, we have to be careful not to lose ourselves because I did.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm a testament to someone who went up the pipeline and kept getting promoted. I was promoted and promoted and promoted.
Yeah.
Before I knew it, I was sitting at the table with people that I don't know if I knew I would be sitting there with,
Yeah.
but I didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And how to be comfortable bringing that out, even in a table where people may not look like you,
That's the challenge, right?
and still be perceived as, you know, results oriented, professional, all of those
Yeah.
things. So, what's the thing to gain about being authentic? I think the reality is wearing all of those masks takes energy. So if you think about the energy that it takes to figure out how you need to say this, you know, scenario, how do I need to show up, or how do I, in all of these scenarios, it is an energy drain. It's mentally draining.
Well, Tamara, to your point, one of the things, and she goes, I know we all have seen this movie, but Waiting to Exhale. And I just thought about it because sometimes I think when we're not authentic and we're living this life that we feel like is pleasing to everybody else, we almost feel bottled up inside. And I just think of the term waiting to exhale. Like sometimes coming home and just letting it out feels so good. But I just think about what if we were able to like just be our true selves all day long. How much energy would we have coming home? Some of us come home and we have to lay down and take a nap right away.
Right, because you've been somebody else all day.
Because we've been wearing a mask all day.
Yeah.
And again, we're not talking about being authentic from a place that we are totally there. We're just saying that we understand that it's necessary and we're working on it. And we want you all to come on this journey with us because we think it's pretty powerful.
It is.
Yeah.
So we've actually kind of coined up a couple of different masks that we wear. These are masks that you kind of use to hide some of your authenticity.
So we wrote a couple down. So one of them is, and we all of us women can relate to it, is this Superwoman mask. This mask that we feel like we have to like be Superwoman. I got everywhere I needed to get to on time for a full 30 days. I got a birthday gift sent off to every one of my first cousins and aunts that were, had birthdays this month. I cleaned my room every single time I left the house. My bed was made. All of my bathtubs are clean.
Yeah. Not real.
But it's not, right?
Yeah.
And it's painful, like
It
trying
is.
to be this perfect person.
Yeah. And I think, it's interesting that you say that, because I think we have been, as women, accustomed to trying to portray this through various media sites. I'm thinking of Instagram. I call it Instagram perfect, where we almost chronicleize our lives and things look so perfect. She looks like she's a great mom. She looks like she's a great this.
Her hair always looks good.
Listen.
I hear that all the time, Tara. Some people will say, oh my God, how do you keep your hair together so tight? I'm like, honey,
girl,
if y'all could see.
You see what this looks like when I wake up.
Ooh, you got a lot of influencers now, which I think is really dope too.
Yeah.
So you think about influencers. Tamara and I are in that space.
Yeah.
And it's really, really cool. But what we have to be careful with is if you are given the platform to be an influencer, make sure that you are also being very authentic and helping people understand the good and the bad.
The good and the bad. And one last point I'll bring out about this is that I think sometimes when you put on the Superwoman cape, it almost makes you feel not relatable.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think we all try to strive, sometimes we try to strive to be this Superwoman, and we got this mask on, and it's so much pressure. Sometimes people just want to be like, man, did you do something? Did you ever do something wrong?
Yeah. And I'll tell you really quick while we're talking about this Superwoman mask, I think I've been more influential in my life when I showed people my imperfections.
Good Lord.
Yes. When I showed this air of like, I've got it all together. When I was very honest and real with people and said like, hey, no, I failed at that. Like, or I did not do well at this.
Yeah.
I inspired more people by that than I did trying to be perfect.
It makes you human. Yeah.
So the next one is the corporate mask. So the non-authentic corporate mask.
Okay, so I'm really good at this too. I can definitely, and I had gotten really good at this in my career with code switching. I'll be honest. I can go into a room and I'll go into my HR mode, and I'm like thinking of the perfect feedback to give somebody. How should I lay it out? All the way down to how should I set the room up? Do I need tissues?
Yeah.
I mean, it's very like planned out. And I think sometimes when I get off of work, I forget to turn it off.
Woo.
And I remember a girlfriend called me after work, and she was telling me about something, and I was like, okay, I'm going to give it to her this polished way, and I'm going to,
delivered in this perfect
PC,
package.
and I'm going through like the feedback model that I learned in my college days on how to give feedback, and I'm going through all this, and she literally stopped me in the middle of my sentence. It was like, Tamara, that's just BS.
Yeah, like be real with me.
Okay.
And to Tamara's point, I have a girlfriend that used to tell me like, hey, you're giving me about 30%. When you're ready to give me the whole 100%, let's talk. Yeah. But I do think that this is a really good point to make, because as CEOs, we talk a lot about balancing all things. So balancing your corporate career, and then balancing being a woman who's working on your health, your family, whatever it is that you're balancing. It's hard. But one of the things that I always tell myself is how you start is how you finish.
Come on.
And so if you think about coming into the corporate culture, taking on new positions, really go into this. And I would challenge all of us to really focus on being exactly who you are. Now, can you show up at work like the person that you were at the cookout last
With
weekend?
your homegirls?
Probably not.
Yeah.
But I do think that you can be very real about the things that you like. I think you can be very real about how you carry yourself, whether you're going to wear your hair natural or straight. I struggled with that in corporate, and until recently, I was still kind of like, no, I don't feel like I can do all of these things. In certain cultures, you can't.
Yeah.
But one of the things that we really want us to focus on, as well as you all, is just like think about who you are down to your DNA.
Yeah.
What does that female like? What does she feel like? What makes her happy? What makes her not so happy? And don't continue to subject yourself to situations that are not bringing value to you.
Come on now.
So
I love it.
But yeah, so that's the corporate mask, and then the other one is the well put together mask, and this one is similar to the Superwoman mask, but the well put together one is more about physical things, don't you think? Kind of like,
yeah. So I've definitely had people say, and I know you have people say, oh girl, your hair's always so cute.
Always so.
Your outfit's so cute all the time. And the thing that they don't understand is that this is like, you don't know what's going on underneath here. Like, I actually forgot deodorant one day.
Yeah. And it's easy. So, but my thing is, I think you're impacting more people by being real and saying, like, if you're looking at me thinking I'm perfect, you're absolutely wrong. What I want to be for people is a very true picture of what someone who is really on a journey being authentic looks like.
Yeah.
And like this well put together woman, my shoes always match perfect, my hair, my outfit, my nails always are done. I need to get my nails done now. I'm probably a couple of days close to getting them done. But like really just embracing that I'm not going to have it together all the time. I'm going to work really hard.
Yeah.
Because naturally, most of us women really want to be successful. We really want to do good things in life. And so you're going to work towards it. But the thing is, don't beat yourself up and don't feel like you got a front when you're not always put together.
And I mean, look, the reality is, like, sometimes my ankles are ashy.
Absolutely. So, and Timber and I were joking about this the other day. Sometimes when you're in a meeting, you kick your leg up like this, and then you look down and you're like, oh,
let me put that on back down.
Yeah. Maybe
head to my desk. I know.
Exactly. Yeah. And then the last one, and we'll do it really quickly, is just the perfect mommy mask. So for our sisters out there that are moms, we're praying for you. Superpowers.
Yeah. And this perfect mommy mask is, feeling like you can never feel it being a mom, which is just completely unrealistic.
It'll drive you crazy.
I definitely, as your kids grow, a lot of women kind of get the hint, okay, I'm going to fail, and it's okay.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I remember when Gavin was young, my goal was like, oh gosh, she's got to be smart, and like I would have like all kind of gadgets and gadgets and play classical music because it's better for your cognitive development.
Oh God.
I mean the whole.
I had flip cards for Chandler at like 4 months old. Okay, so showing the flip cards with animals, letters.
What is this?
Right, he just wanted to chew on it.
Right.
Let me bite it.
Yeah, and then I really just realized, like, after failing a couple of times, like, you know what? I'll never be the perfect mom, but what I can guarantee is that I'm a devoted mother.
Yeah.
I
like that.
I'm devoted. I'm 100% with you. I am committed to making you be the best, creating the best human being I can for this world.
Yeah, and I'll just say real quick before we wrap up about the perfect mommy mask too. I think one of the things, if we're not careful, we're bringing generational curses into how we raise our kids. So a lot of us, and personally for me, it's a generational curse if I let it be, but my mom passed at a pretty young age. And so with that, I carry this thing of like, I want to be everything that I didn't get from my mom when she wasn't here. And you're putting these unrealistic pressures on yourself. And quite honestly, like I said, I've never been inspired by somebody who looked like they had it all together. I've been inspired by the people that said, you know what, I messed up. I forgot to pick my child up at the perfect time that day. And here's how I bounce back. So don't ever get stuck into what you did wrong. Find a way to, okay, I may have messed up, but here's what I'm going to do to try to get better moving forward.
You're hitting on something. I think that's kind of what we want people to walk away with is you can't take people on your journey if your journey looks like nothing nobody else is going through.
Come on, that's good.
Okay? There's an element of being inspired by people who have lived through things, who have failed at certain things, and who've learned from them. And can share their stories. Like, that is what we're trying to kind of get at when we talk about being your authentic self. It helps people. It really does.
And I mean, I'll be honest with you too. I think I've been on this journey a lot this year because I've been through a lot in 2019. Some really great things, but also some pretty scary things. And so for me this year, I knew it was God trying to get my attention. Almost like a shaken up like phase in my life of, really do the work. Do the internal work that's going to help you be better externally.
That's right.
And even on this journey that Tamara and I have been called on to really help empower women, this looks like a really exciting and fun thing, which it is. Don't get me wrong. But whenever you're called to do something, you're going to be dealt with in that area too.
That's right.
So be praying for us because this journey that we're on have been authentic, and we invite you guys to come on with us. It is so empowering. It's so healthy for us. I mean, really, truly waking up in the morning, being happy with who you are, being okay with where you are and pushing for whatever it is that you desire in life. It's a journey. And what we would ask is, one, be praying for us, and we'll be praying for you all, because this is truly a journey.